all the friends are here. Rakesh, I recall that when he entered SOS, he brought that change. And perhaps the change was in line with the situation we are discussing today. SOS felt that the transformation towards any kind of corporatization was not a happy thing. I recall that, and we are still debating in Prayas whether we should adopt a few corporate practices. So they appear to be two different worlds. Rajiv Khurana is here, Vinod Pandey, Brigadier Williams. I think they have better understanding of the other world, isn't it? The other world of corporates. So as we said that non-profit versus profit and adhesive, trying to combine the two interests, I think we are probably limiting ourselves. We are limiting ourselves in our perspective. Let me inform you friends that it's not publicized, but that's an important body which has been created in Niti Aayog, and I was partly instrumental for that. They have created something called Standing Committee of CSOs. And when the word was coming up, then somebody thought, and we brought that figure, that Standing Committee of the Service Delivery CSOs of India. You understand that? And that was the word added. And the addition came because of some discussions that went on, and maybe about 20-25, probably they are big ones, so-called big ones, not exactly big, and in that sense, but since they are serving large numbers, they are like, Akshapatra or SOS or Seva or let's say Sulam International. Slowly and gradually, Prayas also has gone in that position where every day 40,000, 50,000 people come to the organization in our 247 centers that we run in 90 states. We employ about 1,000 people. So it has grown over the years. So there, why this issue came up, I mean, and you, Manish, you talked about it, that whether the activist NGOs and those NGOs, like the ones happening in Tamil Nadu, what happened was led by NGOs. Yeah. The entire issue, and these are the things which are there. So I really, when I think of why I got associated and where I came from, as a policeman, I had no business to get into this kind of activity. 1986, 85, 86, Kiran and myself, Kiran Bedi, my colleague, we worked together for decades. She started Navjyoti, I started Prayas. I started Prayas for the simple reason that city of Delhi had, maybe by evening, our police stations used to have 50, 60, 70 children who could not be taken to government homes, who couldn't be kept in police stations. So they had to be kept somewhere. Those kind of children, which were taken charge of by the police. You understand that? Limited, very limited purpose. And there was a big fire and a lot of homeless and street children, vagabond children, not exactly juvenile, but children verging on juvenility, let's say, that kind of children we came across. And as Deputy Commissioner of Police Crime, my hands were full. I was leading counter-terrorist operations. I was the busiest policeman in Delhi, in fact, and I had really no time. But then we started off. And one very small thing, lost and found children. A lot of children lost and found. Nearly 120,000 children are lost every year. And nearly 25-30% remain lost. So these are the kind of situations which brought me to the sector exactly 30 years back. 1988, I started Prayas. Today, as I mentioned to you, it has been a chase. It has been a kind of, we have been chasing the needs, or perhaps trying to fulfill the needs one after another. Most of it was very unplanned, let me tell you. And in fact, whenever I talk about the voluntary organizations, most of the voluntary organizations are like that, and they have to be like that. We are not a government where we have got a fixed agenda, there is a constitution, there is a law, there is a system that operates night in the beginning. We are not corporate where we have a system which is driven on account of the profit that we have to make, as you said correctly. So we are different. Civil society organizations, call them, or you call them NGOs, call them whatever, but those organizations which have been created on account of certain, somebody said filling the gaps, for example, or perhaps serving a class of people. So it has been taking that shape, and today 3.2 billion. I mean, that's the number. It's not 2 billion, in fact 3.2 billion. That's the figure which CBI produced before Supreme Court of India in a particular PIL. So that's the number we are talking about. And then those kind of organizations are there. See, one or two points I would like to mention which is larger than what we are discussing here. See, number one, that when we talk about social sector, we talk about health, education, poverty, elevation, disability, deviance. These are the areas where we are there. When we talk about social sector, again, in terms of the targeted groups of population, we are talking about children, deprived children, women, disabled, elderly, these classes of people. Now, this entire range of social sector has something to do with the government's programs also. Government divides its activities and ministries and programs according to it. And we meet somewhere. The entire voluntary sector is best suited to attend to the requirements of social sector. The social sector and voluntary sector, they merge. They merge. But where are we? Where are we and where do we figure ourselves? Despite the numbers that we have, 3.2 billion, the role and the location and the credibility of the voluntary sector is, as you say, is very much in question. And to the extent that nearly fourth year of its existence, Niti Aayog did not have a single discussion like this. And let me now, the gaps are too big. Our justification, why are we important? Why we must exist? Why we must grow? And why we must be in the place that is our rightful place? See, our existence is on account of nearly half the population of India. Poverty, deprivation is writ large. I mean, one can't explain internationally or nationally that why are we 133rd on our FDI list, whereas we happen to be the fourth largest economy, almost becoming third. This big gap is not only a matter of activism, or maybe somebody is fighting it out to prove that we are there. But then this is the gap, this is the kind of situation where we exist. And voluntary organizations, I mean, even if it is 3.2 billion, I don't think it's such a big number in a country like India. I mean, 1.3 billion is the population. 3.2 million is not a big number because every village, nearly 7 lakh of them, every district, every city, every small hamlet has got some people who are willing to work and some people who create some kind of informal organization. While we take account of our NGOs who are registered, we tend to forget those millions of self-help groups, millions of cooperatives, millions of other organized or unorganized kind of organizations who are all part of the voluntary sector. So the role of voluntary sector probably is much larger than thus filling the gap. We are most suited. We are the only one most suited. The last point I would like to mention here, that if we are talking about the representative character in terms of polity, all right, MLAs, MPs and corporates, they represent the people's wishes and aspirations in political terms. But what about their socio-economic sensitivities? What about the requirements of the socio-economic situation? There we create a situation. So these are some facts I thought I'll just kind of flag out so that other panelists can speak. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.